radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, November 28, 2018. 332 days into the new year. Just 33 days left. We're almost done. Let's get 2018 behind us. Can't wait for 2019. It's going to be amazing. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Very excited about tonight. Scott Wolter is back, and we're going to discuss the lost Templar journals of Prince Henry Sinclair and some other stuff, too, as well. You know what happens when Scott is here. Tomorrow night's another Fader Night with Teresa Yannaris and Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. All right, let's do this. On Stellar.com, you know what to do there. Go follow. Send me a friend request. Twitter, at JChurchRadio. Facebook, still alive and kicking. More on that in just a minute. YouTube. Yeah, I think we're live on YouTube right now. So there you go, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's right there. All right. Hello to everybody in the bunker cam, and what you are doing. Everybody on Twitter is lighting up already. I like the dog, the cow. The cow. That's pretty cool with the UFO in the background, and that's from Ant in Oz. I love my dancing gifts as they kick off tonight. Kind of light. Where's my dancers? Kind of light on the dancers tonight. What's going on, folks? What's going on? All right, at JChurch Radio, you know what to do, right? Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Hashtag F2B, you can comment right there in real time. We have two chat rooms, one at Spreaker, one over at KGRA, The Planet, and of course there's email, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. All right, now, let's just get straight to it. There's a lot to do tonight. Scott is here, and one of the great things about having Scott on the show is he and I just always have a great conversation. And leading up to this, we were outlining this show going back now for about a month as we started to set up for tonight, and going back and forth, coming up with different things that you know, just kind of flavors for the conversation. And I got to tell you, I don't know how we're going to pack it all in tonight, but we're going to do just that. Also, you can come join us for the 2019 Conscious Life Expo right here in Los Angeles, California at the LAX Hilton. That's right, at LAX at the Hilton. What's great, you're coming in from out of town, you fly in, you walk to the Hilton from the airport. It's right there at the airport. And a great hotel, the LAX Hilton. And this year we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken And I'll be hosting the panel with Eric and Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and David Wilcock. Also, there's going to be 50 speakers presenting this year at the 2019 Conscious Life Expo, including George Norrie, Nassim Haramein, Robert Schock, Danny Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge. Looking forward to that. And, of course, our very own Teresa Yannaris is going to be there. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets, and you can also check out a full conference schedule right there. Just click on the CLE banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. And don't forget, I want you to visit Hoffman's Optics, Hoffman'sOptics.com. The banner is over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. They are the builders of our new night vision goggles, right? The Area 52s. And now we know about the white phosphorus. We know about the black and white, right? We know about green. Hoffman's Optics. We are the only builders of blue. Blue. Imagine that. Blue night vision goggles. Go check them out. Hoffman'sOptics.com. That's all you got to do. Click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It's just $2 a month. Click on the podcast banner right there at JimmyChurchRadio.com. You can also become a Fade or Not in our membership section on the site. Get autographed shirts and hats, and get the bunker cam email to me, whatever. And also commercial-free, downloadable archives of the show, updated every single day. Okay. And visit all of our sponsors here at JimmyChurchRadio.com by clicking on their banners. They've been with us for a very long time, including River Moon Coffee. All right. Oh, man. Love my River Moon Coffee. Fresh. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Judd Nelson. Judd Nelson is 58 years old, and of course, you know why he makes the list. He makes the list because he played John Bender in The Breakfast Club. Bender. Judd Nelson. Also today, Randy Newman is 75 years old. Randy Newman is half, 50%. He's half of the reason why I moved to Los Angeles. It was that song, I Love L.A. That's right, Randy Newman, that video. Randy Newman today is 75 years old. Jon Stewart today is 55. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're going, okay, Jimmy, Jon Stewart's here because of The Daily Show. He's a funny guy. No, that's not why Jon Stewart makes the list. Jon Stewart makes the list because of The Faculty. Yeah. He played, that was the thing about that. His name in the movie, Professor Edward Furlong. And I always remember that. Wasn't that the actor's name in Terminator, the kid? Wasn't he Edward Furlong? Is that some kind of play? Is that some kind of, I don't know. Anyway, Jon Stewart, The Faculty. That was just a great role. All right. Now, why is that? Do you find it visible when I say biggest? Oh, that's funny. That's funny. What was that? That was that History of the World? Is that Mel Brooks? That comes in from Mark over in Australia. I believe so. I believe so. Our dead guy's birthday today is Anna Nicole Smith, 1967 to 2007, died at the age of 39. Married billionaire J. Howard Marshall in 1994. She starred in the Anna Nicole show on, I can't remember what network that was on. And she was also the 1993 Playboy Playmate of the Year. On February 8th, 2007, Smith was found dead in room 607 at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. No illegal drugs were found in her system, but chloral hydrate, Klonopin, Ativan, Cyrax, Valium, and 6 other prescriptions were. Yeah. Some say it was foul play. There you go. Happy birthday, Anna Nicole Smith. On this day in history, OTD, 1994, serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, serving 15 consecutive life sentences, is beaten to death by a fellow inmate. Yeah. I remember seeing that on TV. It was like some kind of breaking news. I was like, what? But then again, you kind of expected that to happen. So there you go. Fader fact. Okay, now, when it comes to fader facts, that's a great picture there, Mark. Where'd you get that? That is really cool. What's the sign say? Hi. I can't read it, but there's the crew. That's the crew right there. That's going to get a retweet. Fader fact. Are you ready? I did not know this. A donkey can see all 4 of its feet at all times. That's right. Oh, maybe I need to repeat that if you didn't get it. A donkey can see all 4 of its feet at all times. Yeah. I guess it's because the eye, right? They stick so, I don't know. But they can, and that is your fader fact. Tonight, Scott Wolter is here. He's back. We're going to be discussing, we've got 2 actual stories tonight, or two things that we're going to weave together that don't seem connected at first, but they are. And it's all about the Knights Templar. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about the Lost Templar journals of Prince Henry Sinclair. Who is Henry Sinclair? We're going to get to all of that tonight. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with Teresa Yannaris and Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. All right. Let me hit this River Moon coffee. I've got a few traditions here. All right, I've got a few traditions. And one of them, I was telling Rita, I'm just about done with the bunker camp. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't. I just don't. I like when I go over to host Coast to Coast because there's no camera staring at me, for 3 hours. I think we're going to lose the bunker cam. Are you going to be upset? I mean, what do you get out of the bunker cam? Looking at one guy talking on a microphone for 3 hours. I mean, how much entertainment is that? Is that worth anything? I don't know. I think I'm about done with it. The other night when the bunker cam went down and I was able to just sit in here and do my thing, and it's just something about that I don't know. Let's see. But you have this really nice moon tan. I do not. I have no tan. Okay. Last night I talked about the possibility of the end of Facebook. And, at least the version of Facebook that we see today. And also to that end, Google as well. The two are complete virtual monopolies, if you think about it, with far too much power. Amazon is getting there too as well. But I completely embrace the technology, and I always have. I'm a technology geek. I love it, man. From the very beginning, my first black and white laptop, and I had Lotus Mail, and I was able to go and have email, and we're talking about 1994. Oh man, it was just and PCM CIA cards, and finally got had a floppy drive at first, and then my next computer got a color screen. I think I got a CD-ROM drive, and oh man, it was just those were glorious days. Technology and things and dongles and cables and new software and Mozilla and just things. It was just exciting times. And I've always embraced the technology, and I'll never change. Look what this show is, right? It's about the technology. But you see, here's the thing. For all of the good things that we get from Facebook and Google and social media, such as, connecting with friends, right? You have an almost unlimited library of knowledge. You have effective advertising that is, actually pretty cool. You've got delivery and logistics for shopping. You've got streaming entertainment and so much more, right? And the development of that future tech, positive engineering, it seems to be the focus. And that part of it is good. I get it. I really do. But there's something that really bothers me. And it's that for all of the genuine focus on personal, individual, and corporate invention, there seems to be an absolute ignorance towards fake news, right? Trolling, hate speech, right? Negative blogs, polarization, just the extremes of everything. Facebook and other social sites, which started off to bring us all together, today they're causing such severe behavior, loneliness, bitterness, sadness, hate, all in a quest for more likes and friends and followers and subs and clicks and views. And now we have bullies and trolls follow you wherever you go. It just doesn't matter who you are. You could be somebody on Facebook with 50 friends and you've got people trolling you, right? Making your life miserable. The news follows you. The negativity follows you. Wherever you go, you sign off on a computer and it's following on your phone or a tablet. It never escapes you. It's just always there, right? The cycle never ends. It doesn't break. It's a continuous thing that feeds itself, and it weighs people down. It's changing the social fabric of us. And I'm seriously concerned that these great tech giants out there have not learned anything from these mistakes, or that they care about it. The negative sides of their powerful social platforms, they don't care. They don't. I remember many years ago when I saw my first comment from somebody that I knew, and this was, I'm going back like 8 or 9 years, that long ago. And I see this first negative comment from somebody that is a friend, somebody that I worked, somebody that I knew right well. And it was just so out of character for this person that I genuinely felt was just a nice person, right? But the comment was really bad and really negative. And it wasn't at me. It was just in a thread on Facebook. And I thought to myself at that time, Facebook is not going to put up with this. It was like the first time I saw something like that, like a troll, like a bully, like a just, and I thought, there's no way, right? Well, Facebook did put up with it. And it was just the beginning. And I thought when I saw that if I had typed the same thing, right? If I had just gone off the rails, which I never have, by the way, but if I had just gone off the rails, that I would get some message, Facebook has terminated your account. That they wouldn't allow this kind of stuff to happen. But that was the beginning. It was the beginning, and things have just gone off the rails ever since. Now, we can look at this in one of two ways. Either Facebook didn't know about their impact, right? They didn't know what they would do to society. They didn't know. Or they did know, and they wanted to use it to make more money and be of service to the darker corners of the world who need it. It's either or. And when we try to figure this out, one thing is very clear. To me, nobody in Silicon Valley cares. Nobody in Silicon Valley wants to answer for it. They don't want to admit it, and they certainly don't want to attempt to fix it. But here's the really scary part for me. There are some very clever, dark, and nasty people out there who understand the vile part of social networks and their impact on the masses. They get it. They get it. Whether Facebook and everybody else out there, and that includes Twitter and Snapchat, Instagram, whatever you want to, whatever. Whether they get it or not, other people do. Dark. They don't want Facebook fixed or Twitter, YouTube. They don't. They don't want any of it fixed. Actually, they want more. But I have a solution. I always do, right? Dan Betts. Dan, I don't know you, but that is one of the best tweets I've ever seen. That's well done. I have a solution. And it's a simple one. One that we all grew up with. And it works. First, this is what you do. Now, I need you to just go with me. Listen to me. We need to create a Facebook 2. Facebook needs to create a Facebook 2. Right? Facebook 2. Facebook 2, where you can join voluntarily. No problem. Doesn't matter. Right? But at Facebook 2, you can do whatever you want. That's right. And you know that going in. And so does everybody else. Trolls can troll trolls. Bullies can be bullying bullies. All of the hate and extremism you can handle. You can share some fake news while you're there. You get to live it up. You get caught violating the terms of community conduct on any social media platform, and you get sent to Facebook too. Right? You know how it is, man. You know, you're in 8th grade and you show up in class and that one kid that was just causing trouble and his seat is empty. He's like, where'd he go? He's in the special school. Really? You know, and you will do anything to get back to society. You'll be so nice. You'll do anything, right? And that's what we need. We need a Facebook too. That's right. And if that is your goal, to just be negative, to spread fake news or to bully people or extremism, if that's what you really want, go to where you can do it. Nobody's going to care. And if you really want to troll, go troll another troll. There you go. Just go and do it. Go hang out with go and hang out with your kind. Right? And leave us alone. Right? And get banished. And you don't get a second chance. You don't. You get 6 months at Facebook too. And when you come out, you're going to be a changed person. Yeah. Does it sound harsh? Not really. We've been doing it for years. Is it censorship or a freedom of speech issue? No, it's not. Not at all. Because over at Facebook, too, you're free to say or do whatever you want 24/7. It's open all night. It's an easy and very simple thing to do. But it'll never happen. It'll never happen. Facebook and all of the other social networks could clean up everything virtually overnight. Seriously, they could. If you think about it, if they care, if they really wanted to, all of this could be fixed. There would be no trolling. There would be no extreme. There would be no hate speech. There would be fake news. There wouldn't be any of this. But they don't want to do it. They don't want a safe, fun, cool place for our friends and family and our children to hang out. They really don't. They don't. The powers out there want you divided. They want you pissed off. They want you angry. They want you confused, full of disinformation. Seriously. And that is the truth. Otherwise, they would do something about it. Honestly, when was the last time one of the tech giants made you feel happy? When was the last time that happened? When was the last time they made you feel good about yourself? Right? That's the world we are in today. Now, you're probably asking yourself that this kind of commentary doesn't have a place on Fade to Black, a show about UFOs and time travel and the unexplained conspiracies. Well, the answer is actually very simple. We've been watching science fiction about our current world today for over 100 years. That's right. And at one time it was fun because there was no way that it could ever happen. The tech big brother, right? The machine controlling us. That was all fantasy. But it is here and it is real. You need to think about that. Now, tonight, our guest is Scott Wolter. And we're going to be talking about the Knights Templar and a part of our history that wasn't supposed to be real. but it is. Think about that. The days that we live today were supposed to be fantasy. They weren't supposed to happen. And it was fun, and it was games, and it was tra-la-la. Today, man, we're living it. We were warned. We knew this could happen. And now it's here for real. And I'm going to say this in the most direct way that I can. If Silicon Valley, if the tech giants cared, they would fix it. They would fix all of it, just like that. All of the energy that they spend on everything else, and they sure got that figured out. They got the engineers to do that. They got the focus groups to think about that for a second. It's easy to do. They've got the manpower and the money. They don't fix it. And this is Fade to Black. That's right. Tonight it's Scott Wolter. So right now I'm going to take a break. Why do I need to take a break? Because while I am gone, I need to order some stuff from Amazon. That's right. I need some deliveries for tomorrow. And then I'm going to head over to Facebook and block me some trolls. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. That's right. Bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be right back with our guest, Scott Wolter. Stay with me.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, folks. It's a holiday season with hope in the air. Things to look forward to and no time for despair. Health can be a challenge, and so can the mail. So Get the Tea wants to help you by giving you a sale. Buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month for free. No limit. That's buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month free. That's a savings of $35. Where? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Scroll down on the front page and find the buy 2, get 1 free ad. Click it and save. Orders over $100 get free shipping. Send the gift of life. Change tea at GetTheTea.com. We have many non-GMO organic supplements just waiting for you. This holiday season, enjoy health and Thanksgiving with GetTheTea.com. Want to call us? 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. GetTheTea.com is a proud sponsor of doing what's right. That's GetTheTea.com. Petrographic.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Scott Wolter is here. We know him, of course. He's an author, but he was also the host of History Channel's America Unearthed, one of my favorite series. He's responsible for the independent Petrographic analysis testing laboratory where the Kensington Rune stone was brought in for investigation in 2000. Been a principal petrographer in more than 5,000 investigations throughout the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico, including the evaluation of fire-damaged concrete at the Pentagon following the attacks of September 11, 2001. Tonight, we are going to discuss the lost Templar journals of Prince Henry Sinclair. I would like to welcome back the one and only Scott Wolter. Scott, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. How are you?
It's always great to hear your voice. And this is the thing. Scott, I'm going to start off right here, right now.
Uh-oh.
You have a way, and I don't know if it's your tone, if it's your demeanor, but you have a way of delivering the truth, certainly the truth as you see it, I should say, but delivering the truth, and sometimes you ruffle feathers, you anger people, but that is what you do. But with that comes criticism. But
yep.
Do you get used to it?
Well, I think you get used to it to a point. I mean, I don't think people don't want to be criticized. I don't like to be criticized, although I have to admit sometimes I bring things on myself. And, as you said, sometimes my style doesn't work for people. And, humans are emotional creatures. We all are. And, that emotion sometimes get in the way of delivering a message or receiving a message. And sometimes the way you portray something or you think you're portraying something, someone isn't receiving it the way you're delivering it. And that's just part of the human condition. And I think, some people love my style. Some people are indifferent to it. Some people don't like it at all. And, all I can do is just be who I am and say what I believe the truth to be and, say when I don't know. I mean, I think that's just as important as saying what I believe to be the truth. There's always a time you got to say I don't know, and some people don't like to do. I don't like to do that, but if it's appropriate, then I'll do it. And but some people just have a tough time hearing the truth if it's not what they believed.
That's right.
They thought it was.
That's right. That's right. It's amazing to me how people hear what they want to hear. A few years ago, I flew back east. My brother got married. Right. I'm one of the best men, and I'm in the hotel room, and I take out my laptop, And you and I just did a show together. And I'm reading, this is no joke, I'm reading literally a line-by-line analysis of our entire 2.5-hour interview.
Really?
Yes, and the criticism, I mean, breaking it apart, but this is the thing. I'm reading it, and I'm thinking to myself exactly what you just said, Scott. Did they even hear the same show? What? How can this be the exact opposite of everything that was said? I just don't get it. People are going to hear what they want to hear.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I run a blog, right? And I get people that come on and people that are supporters, people that have questions, but most of the time, it seems to me that I got trolls on there. They don't want to tell me who they are. They come on as anonymous, or they make up some BS name, and they just come on to troll. And they play this cute little game of gotcha. They try to, ask some circular question to get you to say something that's not quite accurate. I mean, if you don't put the "the" in a sentence, they nail you on it. And it's just this creepy little game that they play, and it's annoying as hell. But it's just how people are. But I don't know if we're ever going to change that. I shut it down as soon as it starts to get stupid and unproductive.
Well, now
I don't know what else you can do.
No, there's nothing. So with that, let's just start talking.
All right, man, bring it on.
See, okay, this is what I find most interesting about life is that the more that I research, the more that I interview, the more shows that I do, and everything in my little world, my little bubble, I find out that we know nothing, right? Or at least what we've been told is not the truth, and we are left to try to go and unravel this thing ourselves, which is exactly what you've been doing. Now, in a very basic sense, we have all been taught since we were like 3, going to school, Christopher Columbus, 1492, sailed across the ocean blue, right? Okay. So we're indoctrinated, right? And that is it. That's the beginning of everything. Clearly, Scott, that is not the case, right? No. And that's where we need to start tonight.
No, that's not the case. And I don't think anybody who's really spent even 5 minutes on the internet or has been paying any attention at all believes that. And let's be honest and say that the narrative is slowly but surely finally changing. I mean, Lonsa Meadows has really burst that Columbus bubble, and it's not going to be blown up again. It's done. And I mean, it's still slowly but surely being accepted in various places. I don't even know what to call these entities anymore, but that is changing, and I think people realize now that the Columbus thing was BS. But it was done for a reason, for political reasons, for religious reasons, and for a while it served the purpose that certain people wanted it to serve. But that's not what happened. And what I've been focusing on, it started with the rune stone, and it led me directly to the Knights Templar, and to them and nobody else but them. And quite frankly, when I look back now, I just say to myself, how the hell did people not see that? And when I say what I'm about to say, Jimmy, this is not, I'm not trying to be cute. I'm not trying to be disingenuous. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not the brightest guy in the world at all. I'm reasonably smart, but there are a lot of people that I've met and I know that are a lot smarter than me. Why is it that other people didn't see this? I just don't. The only people at that time in 1362 that had the money, the means, the motivation, there's nobody else. And I just don't understand how I could be the only person, at least in my world that I interacted with, that could see that. And it just mystifies me to this day.
Now, you just mentioned, that's actually a good place to start, 1362. I just mentioned 1492, so we can do the simple math right here. 1362. We've got two different narratives, two different experiences tonight that we're going to weave together.
Right.
It's very interesting, and for everybody out there, you can just go to scottwolteranswers.blogspot. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com, and you can read all of Scott's information there. Some of what we're going to talk about tonight are his two latest articles that were published. I think one in the end of October and the one just a couple of weeks ago, first week in November. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Now, 1362, let's start there. Why is that date important?
Well, 1362 is the date that's carved on the rune stone, the Kensington Rune stone. It was found in 1898, Swedish immigrant farmer clearing trees in preparation for farming on his property in western Minnesota. And he and his two oldest sons tipped over this 30-year-old tree, and tightly wrapped almost directly underneath it was this 202-pound stone with a long inscription carved in runes called the Kensington Rune stone that we now call the Kensington Rune stone. And it's a long inscription that is, people have tried to decipher it because it doesn't fit the narrative of what a rune stone should be in the academic community, both in runology here in America and in Sweden. And after everything that I've been through with this thing, I'm just going to give you a cute little phrase, okay? And this really sums up why the Kensington Runestone was not figured out by the scholars to this day. You ready for this?
Yes.
I love this. I came up with this, and it's one of the few things I think that actually really distills it down to its basic essence, the problem of the Kensington Runestone. You ready?
Ready.
For 120 years, scholars have been trying to tell the Kensington Runestone what it's supposed to be instead of letting the artifact tell them what it is.
I agree with that. Okay, so what are they trying to say?
Here's the problem. What they're saying is it's a rune stone. And the rune stones that we have here in Scandinavia have to be this, 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 and this. And if it doesn't have this, this, and this, because all the ones that we've studied have this, this, and this,
right,
then it can't be a rune stone. So it must be a fake. That's basically what they said. And instead of doing what a true scientist has to do, is you start with a blank slate. Okay? You don't make any assumptions at all. You just start documenting information. Oh, it's got X number of runes. It's got numbers. Here's another interesting thing. You know the numbers on the Kensington Runestone? They're called pentatic numbers. Did you know that pentatic numbers are Arabic in origin?
I did not.
Which begs the question, what the hell?
Right. Right.
What the hell is a Muslim numbering system doing on an artifact found in North America? Who in their history interacted with Muslims? Oh, the Knights Templar.
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
Now that alone right there, you've never heard anybody say that, have you?
Well, and so the thing is the suppressing of, and I talk about this every night on the show, Scott, the suppressing of this information is done for a reason. I can't figure out why. If they just, I would love to hear your answer for this. If they just let the information out, what does it really change? And especially now, today, in 2018, going into 2019, what difference does this have to do with the past? Why continue to suppress history?
You want me to be totally brutally honest?
I do.
Well, the reason is this, is that once you accept the Kensington Runestone as a genuine medieval artifact that goes back to the Knights Templar, you trigger a series of dominoes that would end up going to inconvenient places for certain entities, like the Roman Catholic Church, for one. It inconveniently goes to places like the Telpiat tomb in Israel, in Jerusalem, You know the Talpiot tomb?
I do. We've talked about it, yes.
Yeah, we've talked about that. That's a place the church doesn't want to go, do they?
No.
Because this little thing about the resurrection of Jesus, suddenly if you have physical remains of his body, that's a problem, right?
And okay, now
it's a huge problem. They don't want to go there, and they know that's one of the places it's going to go. But it goes to a lot of other places. So, from a religious standpoint, it's a huge problem. From a political standpoint, it's also a huge problem. Remember that little manifest destiny thing that we had going for a long time?
I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a problem too, right? And so all of a sudden we've got a land claim that I don't believe in the early part of the 20th century, actually the late 19th century when it was found, that people, our government was still worrying about people making claims to this land. There are many people that have made claims to this land. Do you know there's Russian land claims on the western states that have been found on the west coast and on the west coast of Canada? I bet you didn't know that.
Well, and so and that could be part of it. I mean, seriously, that Wisconsin all the way to Colorado, from North Dakota all the way down to Kansas could actually be called New Scandinavia. Right, so that
New Scandinavia. Right. Oh, that's right. We got the French land claims that came in the 1700s. I mean, it gets awful messy and muddy if you really study it. And we just don't need another land claim to muddy the waters, especially before Chris. Remember, back during Manifest Destiny, we had. We basically set the table and said, Manifest Destiny is two things. One is the natives are savages and not worthy of owning this land, thereby justifying, persecution, killing them and taking their land. That was part one. Part two was there was nobody else that came here before Chris. So it's our sovereign, God-given right to take this land, right? I mean, it's nonsense when you look at it today, but that's what it was all about. And so any of these things that could potentially be problematic, that there were other European cultures that came here or any other cultures that came here, that's a problem. So what do you do with it? You don't sit there and try to argue it and look at the evidence and see if it's real. No, you just make it go away. Easy, simple, clean, done, gone. Fake, done.
Now, what we're going to do set this out, and there's one other thing I just want to mention before we head to the break, and I want to we've got to set this up with Jackson and Donald and what happened and what the discovery was. We'll set that up for after the break. But before we get there, there's one other thing that I think is historically one of the biggest stories, of all time, which certainly is the Hooked X. The Hooked X isn't just the Kensington Rune stone. The Hooked X isn't just, it goes all the way back to the Middle East. It goes back to Jerusalem. The Hooked X tends to be everywhere, and it's certainly part of the story again tonight with these documents. Yep. So the Hooked X is a part of our history. When is it going to be accepted? I mean, what is it going to take for everybody to start connecting the Hooked X dots that surround this planet?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jimmy. I think people are starting to do that. This is really kind of a crazy thing that you bring this up because I actually own a trademark on the Hooked X, and I was advised to do that, and I did it, and I'm glad I did because, this is something that we coined many years ago when we were, working on the runestone, and then we realized it was such a much bigger thing. And anyway, so what's happening now is it is becoming more out there. I mean, there was a woman that wrote a book here recently, and it's called like The Mystery of the Hooked X. And the cover of the book, it's a novel, and the cover of the book is like this dark, brownish colored with just a big Hooked X symbol on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to tell this person there's a trademark, and she can't do that. And And I called her, and she said, "Oh, my God, I had no idea." I said, "Oh, that's fine. I thought that was the case," and I went through it with her. Well, I just had another person who's written a book, and in the description in this catalog, he uses the hooked X, and it's part of his book. So I'm talking to him right now, and what I want to do is I want to be careful of is that it doesn't become something like a Kleenex, right? You know, tissues, you know,
but
people
how
use
can
the
you,
term Kleenex. And,
Scott,
Scott,
I got to ask you, how can you trademark a letter? It's like trademarking the letter
you can't.
B.
It's not the symbol. You can't trademark the symbol, but I can trademark the phrase, the hooked X.
Oh, you're trademarking the phrase, the hooked X.
Phrase, correct.
So the Knights Templar.
But what's happening is the symbol and the phrase are becoming one and the same, right?
Oh,
and
gotcha.
so it gets to be like the Kleenex tissue thing. And I'd be honest with you, I'm a little confused because there's a part of me that wants that to happen.
Right.
But from a legal standpoint, I'm not supposed to let it happen. So I'm in this quandary here of what I'm going to do. And I don't want to discourage people, you know, on one hand, but I also want to protect the brand name. So I'm not sure. I guess the answer to your question is it's being accepted. It has to be accepted because it's part of the real history, and the importance of it touches on some of the most important historical figures in the history of this world.
So you created
like Jesus and Akhenaten, and you know,
sure.
Doesn't get any bigger than that.
You created the term hooked X. Before you, nobody used that term.
No,
right.
I've never seen it anywhere
right.
prior. And I just looked at it, and when we were doing our research and talking about the different runes, we didn't have a name for that one. It's being used for the letter A, and I just said, well, it looks like a hooked X. And it just caught on, and we just started using it, and that's how it started.
Somebody just tweeted, the hooked X is now trademarked by the Masons.
No, not the Masons. I'm a Mason, but the Masons didn't trademark it. Scott did.
There's so much trademarking scuttlebutt going on in this community right now, and it's always good to have clarification. So,
right.
Okay, now, but yes, I see it everywhere. And leading up to the show tonight, I was watching, I think it was on Twitter yesterday, it might have been today. Somebody was had a photograph up of something it might have been New York. Somebody standing there with an X in front of them, and
St. Andrews.
Yes, St. Andrews. You saw that
outside
the
church in New York. Yeah.
Now, see, and that's what you have caused people to do, right?
I love it, though. I love it.
Yes,
I think it's great.
Yes. And I see it everywhere now. Anytime I see any type of ancient writing, I'm looking for hooked X's.
I know it. Well, you know what? I think this is a good thing that people. I'll tell you what happens is you start looking for something that, like the hooked X, for example. But what happens is you start to see other things. You're paying more attention to things that you probably wouldn't have paid as close attention to before, and you start to see other things. So if that's what it's making people do, I think it's wonderful.
Okay, now we're going to head towards a break. When we come back, we'll start to set this up with Donald Rue and Dr. Jackson. But before we get there, I just wanted to give you a little opportunity. I hope you can talk about it. You are in production for a new series.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Man, I love it. What can you confirm? That you are filming something?
Let's just say that we are working really hard on something, and I'm hearing words like action and cut. That's all I'll say.
Is it in the format?
Is it such a prick? Stop this now.
I know, right? Because I know it's going to be great. Okay, do you have just a little flavor? Give me a little something. Do you have a partner in crime?
You know what? I don't work well in partnerships. I've come to realize that. I don't know. No.
Okay,
I work alone.
Okay, so it is in the format of you going out there breaking doors down.
If something like that were an opportunity like that presented itself,
Is there
any door that didn't open, we'd find a way to get it open. Let's put it that way.
Is there any scuba diving or spelunking?
Well, I love to do both.
Is there football? Scott, what can you tell me?
I played last night, as a matter of fact.
I know you did.
And I had a great time. I'm playing with my son in a flag football league, and it's a blast. I get to throw passes to my son and yell and scream at him and hug him and tell him great. I've never had more fun in my life.
Okay, I'm not going to let you off the hook, Dex, that easy. So are we looking at 2019 release?
Well, this year's almost done, so.
Yeah. So it's not imminent, right? It's not going to be a January premiere?
Let me just say this. I've learned in this business that you never count on anything.
That's right.
Because, the last time I did my own show, it was called Unearthed, and I was having a lot of fun. The show was doing really well, and things were trending up. The ratings were rising, and all of a sudden they sold the channel, and we were out the door. It was done. So I've learned never to take anything for granted and to be grateful for all the good things that you do have, because you never know what it can be taken away from you. And I would, if another opportunity comes along, there's nothing that I would do to put it in jeopardy. And all I can say is that I'm very excited about the near future. There's a lot of wonderful things that are going on. And I have to say, what we're about to talk about on the other side of the break, to me, is probably the greatest stories I've ever heard in my life. Admittedly biased, but if you like the Templars, you better hang on and listen to the rest of this show.
When we come back, we are going to discuss Donald Rue, Dr. Jackson, and Hunter Mountain. That's right. It's an incredible story. Our guest tonight, Scott Wolter. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can also follow Scott at Scott Wolter. I'll be right back after this short break. More with Scott right after this. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Come join us for the 2019 Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. This year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken, and I'll be hosting the panel with Eric, Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and David Wilcock. Join George Norrie, Nassim Haramain, Robert Schock, Damian Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge, Teresa Yannaris, and another 50 speakers who will be presenting at the 2019 Conscious Life Expo. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and a full conference schedule, or click on the CLE banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Scott Wolter's back with us. And we are literally talking about the lost Templar journals of Prince Henry Sinclair. And we're going to start this journey off right now with this part of the story. We've got two things that we're going to weave together tonight. But, Scott, it's Donald Rue and Dr. Jackson and Hunter Mountain. Pretty amazing. This kicks off at 1969, right? Scott, are you there? Oh, did we lose Scott? Oh, man. Okay, hold on for a second. Literally, as I said, let's go, Scott disappeared. So just give me a second. We'll have Scott. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that was it. You or me?
No, it was me. I pushed a button, and all of a sudden you were gone. I apologize.
Literally, as I asked the question. Okay, so this with Donald and Dr. Jackson. This story actually starts in 1969. So let's go to the point of origin of the story first.
Okay, actually, it was 1968. And
why do you
these
always,
are a bunch of guys.
Why do
yeah,
you
I think it's 1968, pretty sure.
Why do you always correct me?
No, I'm a fact guy. Everything's got to be. I've got these things in my head, and I'm sorry, it's a bad habit I have, but it was 1968. But anyway.
Okay.
So you've got these a group of guys that were working for an agency that did things for the government and for private entities and stuff we don't hear about. I guess the way Don says it, we used to do things with your tax dollars, is the way he would put it.
Fair enough.
Anyway, and this is during the Vietnam War era, and this is kind of a wild time. I mean, there was the race riots, and there were assassinations, and the Woodstock, and I mean, it was a different time. I was just a little kid growing up. I barely remember it, but these guys were in their early 20s, and they were adventurers, and they decided to go scuba diving in the Hudson River. And Don Rue was one of the guys, and he happened to notice these two wooden boxes that had round balls on top of them, which turned out to be decorative ornaments that used to be in the flower gardens of Bannerman Island, where the guy that Francis Bannerman used to deal in ammunitions during the Civil War, and then his son dealt going into World War I. And there were munitions stored on the island, and they blew up, and that's how these things ended up in the water. I mean, this is documented. But in any case, he found these bulbs, and he knew that one of his other buddies that was with him, Dr. Bill Jackson, his wife was a gardener, and he said, well, maybe your wife will want these, so he gave them to Bill. Well, Bill took them home, and his young son, Mark, who was 5 years old at the time, was carrying around one of these square decorative tops of these things from the garden. He dropped it, and there was something inside of it. There was a couple of things inside, and there was this brass seal, and there was a little canister, a little tube that actually was sealed with beeswax and clay, and inside of it were a couple of parchments. And to make a long story short, what was inside the brass seal were some little metal plates that had etchings on them, and one of the things that was on one of these plates was the word Onteora. And, Bill found this thing, and he started to investigate what it was. I mean, these guys were very smart. They were very inquisitive. They all had special skills. Don was a lockpicker and had other skills with explosives. And, I mean, these guys did stuff that you don't normally see people put on their resumes as their vocations. Anyway, another one of their colleagues, a guy named Dan Spartan, his father had fought in World War II and had a colleague who worked for the French resistance in France. And after the war, this guy sold rare books. So Dan Spartan suggested to Bill, well, if you want to try to figure out what these strange words and symbols are that are carved on this brass seal and on these parchments that you got, maybe this guy in France, who's a rare book dealer, can help you. So Jackson goes over to France. He visits with this guy, and he bought three things. One was illuminated Bible for his wife, who was an Irish Catholic. The second one was a book about the Constitution of Honorius that had some text in there, information about Theban script. Theban script was the type of script that was etched on the outside and on the inside of that brass seal and on these two parchments. The third document he bought was a book that was written in 1718 about Native American words that appear in European languages. One of the words was Onteora in this book, and that's why he bought it. The reference to the word was a document called A Year We Remember. Well, that document is the Cremona document.
Okay,
so that's how this whole thing came about. I know that's detailed.
No, it's not. No. Okay, I can post the picture of the brass seal, right?
Yep.
Okay, there it goes. That's up in Twitter right now. And so
Can you see the Theban script etched on it?
I'm actually going to ask you a couple of questions about this right now for everybody.
Okay, go ahead.
How big is this brass seal?
It's about the size of a hockey puck. It's a little bit thicker.
Okay.
It's almost exactly the size of a hockey puck.
Now, and the script that you're talking about is clearly visible in the top half of this image.
Good, and that's Theban script. And if people Google Theban, you'll see that it's a one-to-one substitution of the symbol for a letter. There's a Theban alphabet. And what happened is once he got a hold of this, he figured, now remember, this is the late 60s, right? We didn't have the internet then. So, I mean, just imagine the difficulty of finding something like this. But he was able to find it, some references to this Theban language. And that text that's on the seal, what it says is, to open, press the back center peg. I mean, that's basically what it says. It tells you how to open it.
Right.
But you have to decode the Theban. And that's how we got into it. But, yeah, so that's...
Okay, so they find that. Okay, so they find this, and you come into the picture now. Okay, so Dr. Jackson and Don Rue, they from 1968 on, now they've got a quest, right? They have got the ultimate thing.
No, wait, back up a sec. It's not they. This is Jackson's deal.
Oh, right,
Don didn't even know about the Cremona document until after his friend died in 2000. I mean, this story is so convoluted. Jackson was working on these archaeological mysteries, is what Don always thought. He never told him about the Cremona document that he eventually would buy. And the way he was able to buy it is a long story, and it's amazing how he did it. But once he got it, he then went to a guy by the name of Barry Fell. Have you ever heard of Barry Fell?
Yes.
He wrote that groundbreaking book, America BC, back in 1976. This was before that, because when Jackson was trying to figure out the script, one of the things he did, he eventually found it by going to this guy, book dealer in France. But he also went to Harvard and met with Barry Fell and said, "Can you help me with this?" And then when he bought the document in 1971, in Italy, he bought it from one of the descendants of the author of that book that had the word Antiora in it. He bought it he looked at it at the Vatican, and then he bought it in a hotel room after that. Now he's got the document a year we remember, and he showed it to Barry Fell in 1971. Barry Fell went nuts, and he said, "Oh my God, you realize what you've got here? This is the story of the Templars coming over in the 12th century." And Barry Fell took the document, and he wouldn't give it back to Jackson.
And so 1968, which started the journey for Jackson, he gets this open. Inside of it are these artifacts that you're talking about.
Right, these metal inserts, yep.
Right, and this leads him to Italy, where he tracks down... to France or to Italy?
No, to France first, where he got the book that had the word Antiora, the reference for that word.
Right.
Antiora is what they called North America back then.
Right.
Back in the Templars' time, and actually going back even farther than that, probably to the 1st century, they called North America in Europe Antiora.
Now,
the reference for that word was the Cremona document,
which he
bought in Italy in 1971, 3 years later.
Right, so that led him to Italy, and
Yep.
now this is where, for me, the story gets even
murky.
crazier. Well, because the Vatican is now involved.
Well, the Vatican is involved in this story, but not in the way. Well, let me just tell you what happened. The guy that had the document was a descendant of one of the authors of that pamphlet that Jackson used, that referenced the Cremona document. His name was Gustavo Benvenuto. Benvenuto was about to donate that book, along with some other books that the family had, to the Vatican. Before he was able to do that, Jackson met with him and said, "Hey, can I look at this?" They looked at it in the Vatican. And he said, well, instead of giving it to him, he said, "I'll buy it from you." So he ended up buying it from him for, I think it was 325 lira. And then they went back to his hotel room. Benvenuto agreed. He went to the hotel room. He gave him the money, and he bought the document. But that's how close it came to ending up in the Vatican.
Okay, so let's continue, because this is again, it gets very crazy. First off,
crazy. Okay, so he takes the book and he brings it back, and the whole book is all in Theban, so he's got to try to decode it, right? So he goes to Harvard, to Barry Fell. This guy's an expert in ancient languages, right? And he's the guy that would eventually write that. Now, what's really crazy, and it's probably going to upset a few people, but I'm just going to tell you the story of what happened. I'm not passing judgment, but Barry Fell went crazy over this thing. He wanted to use the Cremona document and the story in his book, America BC, and Bill Jackson said, no, that thing belongs to me. I'm going to write about it. I want it back. And there was a lawsuit. There was actually a lawsuit filed. We haven't been able to find the judgment. We actually had David Brody, a friend of ours who's a lawyer, try to find the record of that case, but he said it's not surprising that they can't find it. But in any case, he finally got it back from him before he could publish it in his book. That the story of the Cremona document, if Barry Fell had his way, would have been in that book, America BC.
How does let's start filling in the blanks here. How do you go from that and the book and the Theban text to a shipwreck in Newfoundland?
The shipwreck in Newfoundland is just chronicled right there in the Cremona document. He tells the story. In fact, they have very detailed, I can tell you this, there's things that are not in Don's book that we purposely didn't publish. Don and John, here's what happened. In 1971, the first thing that Jackson did, once he got the translated version of the book, which he basically did through his sources connected with Spartan Enterprises. He didn't get any help from Barry Fell. First thing he did was say, Don, I want to go up to Newfoundland and go scuba diving. Well, Don never married was never married, and I asked Don this question just last year. I said, Don, why the hell did he leave all this stuff to you? Why not any of the other guys that I've heard so much about? He said the reason is because I was the one that would always go on his archaeological adventures because I could go. And Jackson actually saved Don's life on the Hudson River during those times in the 60s when they were scuba diving. And I don't remember if Don has that story in the book, but Jackson was a doctor, and Don actually hit his head on a boat motor while he was diving and was knocked unconscious and basically drowned. And Jackson shocked it with the batteries and the coils, the wires on their boat, and brought it back to life. So they had a very special relationship. And they actually went up to southern Newfoundland, and they dove, and they found that wreck. They found it.
And now this, to stay in a chronological order, in a linear sense, because so much stuff happens. All of this is because of the brass hockey puck.
It all started with the decorative bulb, the little boy falling, breaking it, and inside they discovered these things.
Okay, so now
how they got in there, we don't know. That we don't know, but obviously Bannerman must have been involved in that, or one of his associates, and he hid it in the brass seal in the flower garden, his wife's flower garden. I don't know why. I don't know how it got there. We don't know.
And does anybody know, going back to the Cremona document, is it still in the Vatican? Is it just gone?
Well, I can bring you full circle on that.
Okay, let's go full circle later.
Well, let me go back and just tell you what happened and how I became involved in all that. So they find the ship. When they found the ship, and there were artifacts attached to the mast because there was a brass strap that went around and held the two pieces of wood together to make the mast, and there was a stone that was shoved into it to tighten it. It was a wedge stone that you pound it and it'll tighten the strap. But there were symbols that were carved on this rock that the rock pounded into the strap on the mast. And this is what they pulled up. And those symbols become iconic symbols throughout the story because they repeat. But in any case, so once they found that shipwreck, and Don didn't know what the hell they were. He had no idea it was a 12th century ship. They ended up turning up, because the first thing I asked, I said, well, where's the mast? We can date the wood. He said, well, it was turned over to Canadian authorities, and they never saw it again. But what was important is that Jackson was convinced when they found the shipwreck that the story was true. Then what he did is the rest of the story talks about the ships coming over. They dropped off a party, and they made their way to what is now Hunter Mountain, and they found the Temple of the Goddess. And a bunch of things happen, and then they leave and come back. Jackson said, we have to find, now I know the story's true, that means there's something on in the Catskill. It didn't say Hunter Mountain, right? They didn't call it that back then. But they knew that it was somewhere in the Catskills. From 1971 to 1977, they searched every mountain they could in this area they thought it was. It took them 6 years to find the location. And Don was up. He said, we went up every other weekend, and we were on that mountain. I said, well, how many times have you been up there? He says, I lost count. So he was going up on these treks with Jackson, and sometimes they'd have other people with him. But in 1977 is when they found it. They found the signature markers on Hunter. And what they were looking for was the tomb of Altamara. Because Altamara, if we go back to the story of the Cremona document, it's the story of a Templar knight named Ralph de Sudley, whose mission was to travel to Onteora, to North America, to the Temple of the Goddess in what is now the Catskill Mountains, to recover scrolls that were hidden on Hunter Mountain in the 1st century. How did he know about those scrolls? The first part of the Templar document is a first-hand narrative of the 6 Templar knights that went under the Temple Mount
in Jerusalem,
in detail, and tell us what they found. They found a chamber underneath the temple. They found 4 ossuaries, and the contents of those ossuaries included documents that told them about other 1st century documents hidden in North America.
Okay, so now I need to be clear here for the audience. That's what the document, that's what the Cremona document, it's a first-hand narrative. Sir Ralph de Sudley, he's going to go on a mission to recover 1st century scrolls that were hidden in the Catskills. All right?
Yes, and they were hidden after the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and, dispersed the the different traditions that existed at that time that we talk about all the time, that Christianity has sort of morphed into a different version we now call Roman Catholicism. But the secrets of that original tradition were in these documents, and they were so important, they were taken to North America and hidden over here.
Right.
In the 1st century.
How did they get, in the 1st century, how did they get from there to here?
How did they say that? How did they get over there?
Yeah, they hid them. They hid them in the Catskills of New York in the 1st century. The
how
Cremona,
did they get over here?
Yes, I mean the Cremona document. Oh God, that's it. I'm coming to Minnesota.
What the heck do you want from me, Jimmy? They didn't swim and they didn't fly. They took a boat.
No,
I mean, come on.
So
no, seriously, they took boats. Yeah, they took boats.
I know they took boats, Scott. But,
I know, but I don't know. I wasn't there. I think they did it quietly, Just because somebody didn't write down that they came doesn't mean they didn't come, right?
And that's my question, right? So there's logistics that are involved here. That you've got to get a crew together. You've got to get ships together.
Yeah.
You got to get the documents. You got to get them out of Jerusalem. You've got to get them on boats and get them over here. I mean, how did that mission happen, or do we not know any of that?
Well, I at this point, we don't know a heck of a lot about the details of that information, but let me just back up for a second, go back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the show. You were saying that there's a lot of controversial history about North America. The whole Columbus thing is just BS, and that there were people coming here long before that. You've heard of the copper culture, right?
That's right, up in Michigan.
Oh, yep. Now, just for a second, I mean, we're talking about the Bronze Age, which is pre-Jesus, right? Now, I've read certain documents that say that Jesus' father was a tin merchant. He dealt in tin, which means that he would regularly sail to the British Isles because that's where tin is, right? Back then and today. And if you study the copper culture at all, they were coming, Phoenicians, a lot of people say, and I agree with that, would sail through the Straits of Gibraltar, up through the British Isles, and then take the northern route into St. Lawrence and the Ottawa River up into Lake Superior, and they would pick copper up off the ground. Remember, this is post-glacial times, right? We still, to this day, can find float copper on the ground. Imagine what it was like after the glaciers melted away.
Right.
It was laying everywhere.
Knee-deep.
My point is, on the backhaul, right, they would stop in England, get the tin, and then they would show up in Europe, and they would make billions. The point is that this is secret knowledge that ship captains and sailors knew all about this route for thousands of years, okay? And people that were in elite positions, right, you know, people of influence, a lot of them are in the shipping trade and merchants that made a lot of money. And they had secrets, like how to get to certain places that other people don't know how to go, where you can make a lot of money and hide stuff. So I think you can see where I'm going here. This is knowledge that's been known for a long time within certain secret societies, like ship captains and merchants, and certain merchants, and they knew about these routes. They knew about this land over here. I mean, there were people who had a strong interest in not telling people about that because they wanted the wealth for themselves. The Roman Church is a good example of that. And many of the leaders in ancient times, they had a good gig. You're not going to tell anybody where your best fishing hole is, are you?
Now, we've got to head towards a break here, but we mentioned 1492, we mentioned 1362 with the Kensington, but now we're pushing things back another 350 years or 250 years to the first century, where the documents, these scrolls, were brought out of Jerusalem. We don't necessarily know that it was first century AD that they were deposited here, right?
No, I think it was probably, well, you know what, the honest answer to that is we don't know exactly when they got here, but what we know is the contents of those journals, which Jackson and Don eventually were able to decipher,
and we've
includes very important information about the first century, the royal family, including the marriage document between Yeshua ben Yosef and Mary of Miriam of Migdal.
And we'll talk about that, all of it, when we come back. And I've also, can I post the image of the inventory?
Yeah, I think Don published that, so let her go. Yeah.
Okay, you got it. Let's take a break right
in
here.
In his book, I mean, you're talking about the list of documents that were recovered on Hunter.
I'm just concerned about line number 7, and we're going to do all of that when we come back.
All right, let's do that.
Scott Wolter is the guest. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Okay, welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Scott Wolter. Man, what a story that we are putting together for everybody tonight. We're talking about the Lost Templar Journals of Prince Henry Sinclair. And now we're at the Catskill. We're at Hunter Mountain and with Dr. Jackson. And I'm getting ready to, before I post the image of line number 7, which Twitter is patiently waiting for right now. What did they find up on the Catskills? And the second part of this is you get pulled into the story, 2006, and the carving of this. It's a goose, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yep. You get pulled in to investigate this. What did they find up there before I post this picture of line number 7?
Okay. So what they found was in the story, Ralph de Sutterly, on his way over, stops in Denmark, and he approaches the Danish king at the time, who was a Templar knight. And the reason he went to him is he wanted somebody in their court, the Danish king's court, to go with them. And that person was a woman, and her name was Altamara. And the king said, I'll release her from her duties here, but someone has to marry her. So she married one of the knights that he brought with him. And so then she leads them back here. She knows where Hunter Mountain is, which begs the question, how the hell does she know?
Right.
Well, it never says anywhere in the document. My only speculation is she had to have been Native American and been brought over to Denmark from there. So that tells you that there had to have been multiple trips to the New World by Templar and other groups. And that's the only thing I can conclude. Well, anyway, she leads them to the mountain. And as you read the story in the narrative, you grow to really grow to like her. She's obviously very bright and spiritual, and she knows where to go, and she brings them there. But what happens is there's an ambush by a warring tribe of the people of the Temple of the Goddess, and she's killed. They burn her body. They put her in a wooden box, which is interesting, maybe an ossuary perhaps. Mm-hmm. And then they bury her remains. They put her ashes in an urn, the urn in a wooden box, and they put it inside of a small cave on Hunter and with offerings. And then they seal it. That is what Jackson and Don were looking for. And they found it on October 11th of 1977.
Incredible.
And they found it. And what happened was, but what happened then is very interesting, and this is what I write about in my new book. The Cremona document is published, but I really wanted to know what was going on in Jackson's mind, and he writes a narrative. He writes a story in the early 90s about this whole experience, and he puts all this stuff into context. And you hear the story. I mean, I've heard it up until, well, I read that thing about 10 years ago, but I only knew it from Don's perspective. But when I read Jackson's perspective, it was really interesting. Because what happened was, because of his experience with Barry Fell and other scholars who were poo-pooing anything that had to do with pre-Columbian contact, heaven forbid we're going to talk about the Templars, okay? That's why you don't hear about it, because they're taboo. My God, we're not going down that road. And he said, "Screw it. I'm not going to publish this." He became so disillusioned that he decided he was going to write a novel and tell the story in a novel, which people often do, who are worried about a negative backlash. In some cases, people are worried about their person. They're worried about somebody hurting them or killing them. So he decided he was going to write a novel, but what happened was he became ill. He came down, he had arterial sclerosis. He knew he wasn't going to live long, and he just said, I pass this on to the next person. That next person was Don.
So Dr. Jackson died.
That's the context of what happened.
He died in 2000. He
died in 2000, but he wrote that narrative, his reflections about the Cremona document in 1994. And then he set about, for the next 6 years, figuring out clever ways to disseminate the information that would eventually make its way to Don. And it did.
Everything, his collection, right, his research, everything goes...
Photographs, documents, everything.
Everything goes to Don.
Let me tell you something, Jim. There's stuff that Don has that I'm working with him on now that's not in that book. And it's better than what's in that book.
Yeah, you say that every time. Every time you're on the show.
Tell me I don't deliver. Do I not deliver?
You do deliver. You do deliver.
Okay,
but I've always got to wait. But
stop it now.
I know. Okay, so now Don takes over the story, takes over the research. Yep. He's in possession of everything. You get pulled in 2006. You don't really know who Dr. Jackson is or his past.
I didn't then.
Right.
And what I now know is that and I forget if this is even in the book, but it turns out that Bill Jackson, his father, was involved in some things back starting in the 20s and 30s that had to do with the Irish resistance. And he got himself into some hot water. And he had to go into what was the precursor to the Witness Protection Program, and he changed his name. His last name was Jackson. So when we first got involved in the story, one of the first things I did was I went on the internet and I tried to find Bill Jackson. I couldn't find any evidence of him anywhere.
Exactly. There's going to be nothing there. That is so much for...
You don't bother. I can just tell you, don't bother. And if you do, you're going to piss people off.
Okay, I'm going to post now. Let's get this up. Here is the image of from one of the pages of the Cremona document. And this is up now with, which is, it's got this line number 7 in it. I want everybody to go. All you got to do is count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very interesting. What's in line 7?
Well, why don't you read it to me, because I don't have it up. I'm on my phone sitting on the couch, but I think I know what it is.
I don't speak Theban.
Well, it's not in Theban. It's in French, and it's actually written in Old Hebrew.
Right.
Yeshua ben Yosef? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Basically what it is, it's one of the documents that was recovered, because de Sutherland didn't get everything. He had to go through a 3-day ritual to earn the right to get the scrolls. After he came all that way and went through all that adventure and all the things that happened, and he didn't get everything. He only got about half the documents. But one of the documents he got was the marriage document of Yeshua ben Yosef. Yeshua is the real name of Jesus, the biblical Jesus. Ben Yosef means Jesus, son of Joseph, which is interesting because that document was deciphered before the Telpiat tomb was discovered. And what does it say on that one of the ossuaries? It says Yeshua ben Yosef, exactly the same. And it's the marriage document of Jesus and Miriam of Migdal, which is Mary Magdalene.
Now, there's 2 hooked X's here.
Yep.
There's 2 hooked X's, and I don't. Is that? Am I saying that? Is that correct? Is that the King's English? 2 hooked X's, but I guess that would be correct. That is the plural.
Yeah, that's right. 2 hooked. I mean, a more proper way of saying would be 2 hooked X symbols.
2 hooked X symbols. There you go. That sounds right. And they're clear as day, Scott.
Yep. There's more in there, too, in the document, if you look carefully, and then you'll find about a half dozen in the Cremona document. But, again, it's associated with the Templars, and it's associated with secret activities, and, you know, it really has multiple meanings. But one of the things that I'm convinced of is that when you see the hooked X in the Cremona documents that we're talking about now, and in the documents we're going to talk about later, because there's a bunch of them in the Prince Henry journals, is that part of the reason they used it, I think, was an acknowledgement of God. It was sort of like a good luck mark.
Right.
You know, how people kind of, they cross themselves. Catholics will cross themselves. It was that kind of a thing. It was like it was like a plea for protection. Bless this, honor this, help this document, whatever, however you want to term it. And it was something that was very meaningful. When people cross themselves, they're thinking about their faith. Well, the hooked X was a representation of their faith. It just wasn't Roman Christianity. It was a different faith. It was a different form of Christianity, which is interesting because when people say Christianity, they assume it means one thing. Well, that's not true. There are different kinds of Christianity. And, depending on what you believe, that's right for you. Doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, right? Now, some religions will say theirs is the only religion, but that's not true. It's just what they think is the right religion.
Now,
people are free to believe what they want.
Let's talk about your involvement in this, because in a second we have to change gears and get to the other side of this story.
Okay.
Yep. So you get pulled in 2006. You're looking at this. You're pulled in to look at this rock with. It's a huge stone, but there is a carving of a goose there. So tell us about that. And again, this is on Hunter Mountain.
Right. Well, there are several carvings on the mountain. That's just one of them. And there are several carvings that have been found by Don and others in the Catskill Mountains. I mean, Hunter is just one place. There's stuff all over that region there. There are people wandering those places in ancient times. And some of these carvings, I think, are Native American. But the goose carving was part of, shall I say, a grid system. And that grid system helped us. Well, let's just go back to 1977. When they found the tomb, they found Altamara's ashes. They eventually reinterred them in a different place. We don't know where that is. They're still up there someplace. They're not in the urn. None of the original artifacts that were found in Altamara's tomb are on the mountain. In fact, there's really nothing on the mountain anymore to find. They found it, but it's so some of the things that were found. One of the things that was found in the tomb with the urn and the artifacts, including a diamond that has a story, an uncut diamond, a large uncut diamond that has a whole mystery of its own. But there was also another tube found in the cave, in the tomb. And in it was a map that we used with the carvings on the mountain, including the goose, that led us to dig. And we found another inscribed stone that had the same symbols on it that were on that stone that tightened the brass strap on the shipwreck that was found.
Right.
And on the back side, there were Roman numbers that were a latitude and a longitude, and the words in camera, which is Latin for in chamber, in tomb, in secret. It's actually today used in it's a law, a term of law, which means we're going to when a judge says to the lawyers we're going to meet in camera, it means we're going to go in my chambers and meet secretly, privately. And that latitude and longitude, when you correct it for the Paris meridian, which is the Templar meridian, not Greenwich, takes you to a very interesting place. But that was what we found in our time. And I can tell you this, I now know that map that was put in that tube inside Altamara's tomb that Jackson found was placed there in the 17th century, which means somebody else had been on the mountain prior to Jackson.
Right. This is
350 years earlier.
This is like the greatest story ever told.
It's amazing.
Now,
and it gets better, but in the end, they found everything that was in the tomb, and then Jackson, because of his disillusionment, buried everything in places, and eventually Don got them. He got them piecemeal over a period of years. Some of the things he didn't get until his colleagues died.
Who's got
and now we got enough of the pieces of the puzzle to help him put it all together.
Okay, where's the urn today? Where's the tube today? Where's the map today?
The originals, what Jackson left, that map that we used to find the stone and the piece of gypsum, the optical gypsum for navigating in cloudy weather. Don still has that stuff, but the map was a copy that Jackson hid in the back of an old picture, along with some floppy disks. This tells you how long ago this was.
Right.
But on the floppy disk were pictures of the Cremona document.
And where's the uncut diamond?
The uncut diamond, I'd have to go back and look, but it was sold 8 times. Seriously, I'm not making the story up. 8 times within 3 years. All 8 people were dead within 6 months.
Always the number 8 or the number 12. I don't know why that is, Scott.
13.
Yeah, or 13. Okay. So, now.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100. I mean, it's written in there. That's the story of that diamond. It was an uncut diamond, and when they finally cut it, it was a 3-carat diamond.
So then,
imagine how big it was in the rough. I think it was like 10 carats in the rough.
In 2017, an envelope arrives from Europe. I don't know how you are at the right place at the right time. Donna's at the right place at the right time. Jackson, but you guys seem to be at the right place at the right time through all of this, and including the second half of the story when we do this after the break. Again, all of this is coming together.
Just flying by. I can't believe how fast this is going. Slow down.
What was in that envelope that arrived from Europe?
Oh, that's a beauty, man. You want me to tell you about it?
I do. I want to know.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Well, what happened is, and this is so ironic, I'm just going to tell you the story, because what happened is Don was working with a dear friend of all of ours, Zena Helper, and she passed away a few months ago. She was involved in this story with, actually, Don approached her before she approached me. She suggested Don get me involved to look at these inscribed stones. Anyway, she worked on this story for 13 years, and Zena did a lot of really great work. Unfortunately, what happened is she was not in the greatest of health, and she wanted to help the brothers on Oak Island. So she took some of the material that Don had, and she showed it to him, and she got on the show. The brothers used it. Some of the stuff she showed him was great. The map, the Nova Scotia map, that thing's awesome. Hook decks on there, everything else. But the other map that she showed him, the Oak Island map, which they used, I think, last season and the season before. Don didn't realize it at the time he gave it to her, but since that time he has come to realize, he found a letter from 1979, that map was fake. She didn't know about it at the time. Anyway, so the brothers were all excited about this. Zena was in ill health, so they approached Don. And Don had, for whatever reasons, he was skeptical. I happened to take a trip a year and a half ago to New York. I called Don. I said, "Hey, Don, what are you doing? Can I come by and see you?" I just wanted to stop by and see him. A week before I was there, he got that envelope. It was mailed to him. And what that envelope contained were pictures of a letter that Jackson's daughter, Melissa, had found that spring, a year ago last spring, when she was preparing to move to Scotland from Ireland where she was living. And she found this envelope, and in there was a letter. It said, if anything happens to me, make sure Don gets this. And for whatever reason, she misplaced it and never got it to him. And so in there were pictures of this letter and some other stuff. And it just, that's how this stuff comes. It's like Don just sitting there minding his own business. All of a sudden something happens and an envelope shows up, and here's another piece of this puzzle. It's incredible. It's almost like Bill Jackson never died. It's like he's playing this game with all of us, but he's finally letting us see all the pieces. And it's just incredible. I wished I would have met this guy, because I'm starting to understand how he thinks and how glowingly Don talks about Bill Jackson, his friend, that he met him when he was 7 years old. They've known each other their whole lives, and it's a beautiful story. And here's these guys that were doing all this crazy stuff and nefarious stuff, and doing. I can tell you this: the work that they used to do was dealing with really bad people, the worst of the worst, and helping certain entities of our government capture bad guys. And I could tell you stories that you would just never forget about things that Don and Bill and Spartan and all these guys did that the world will never know about. But we're safer and the world is better because of the work they did.
Now, with all of your work going back, to the Kensington Rune stone, which was 1362, but
yep.
The Cremona document, the discoveries at Hunter Mountain, all of this documentation now is supporting everything that you have been saying all along. Why doesn't this start to blow doors down? I mean, this seems to me that I don't know what other supporting evidence needs to happen. Well, we'll cover that after the break. But
I can answer that question real quick. Jimmy, excuse me for interrupting, but you make a great point. But let me just be clear. I'm 100% with Don now because I've been on the mountain and I've seen all this stuff. The Prince Henry journals we're going to talk about, I am 99% sure that story's true. I'll be 100% when we pull something out of the ground. And fortunately, with that story, I've already pulled stuff out of the ground, literally, with the Cremona document. But with the Prince Henry stuff, we have not done that yet. We are going to do that, but that has to happen before I'm 100% on board. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And really quick, and you can answer this in a quick manner. We've got about two minutes. Have you put your hands on the urn?
No, I have not, because Jackson sold it. That was part of the disillusionment that he went through, and he basically said, "Screw it, I'm just going to sell this stuff." And a lot of it had to do, and I'm not here to try to bang on Barry Fell, because Barry Fell did a lot of good work, and he deserves credit for the good work that he did. This was not one of his shining moments.
Right.
But because of what happened with Barry Fell and other scholars that poo-pooed everything, it's bad. He became disillusioned. He said, "Screw it, I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to sell the stuff, get my money." What he did do is take the ashes and they reinterred them in something that was far less glamorous than the urn, and I'll leave it at that. And he reinterred it in a different place. And Don told me, "Don't bother looking." He said, "You'll never find it." And that's okay, because I think we should just leave Auntie Altamara alone, leave her to rest, and we know her story, and we don't go digging up other people's graves. She's been dug up once. Let's leave her.
Yeah. When you consider Barry Fell, who, and if you're part of this little circle where you're studying this and researching this, he, on one side, Harvard University, marine biologist, life is good. He starts writing books about, pre-Columbian history, Egyptians and Phoenicians, and your career is toast. And that's what happened to Barry Fell.
And we have to give him credit for being brave to do it, because he thought it was the right thing, and I'll always respect him for that.
That's right.
But he was human too. We all make mistakes, and it's just the way the world works.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight is the one and only Scott Wolter. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about those lost Templar journals of Prince Henry Sinclair. Who was Prince Henry Sinclair? And the documents. We'll do all of that when we come back. Stay with us. This is Fade to Black.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Guest tonight, Scott Wolter. All right, now we've got the setup. Now we're going to close this thing out. The Lost Templar Journals of Prince, or is it Earl? Is it Prince or is it Earl?
You know what? The proper term is Earl Henry Sinclair. Technically, he was an heir to the throne, so Prince is right, but in the Scottish system, it would be Earl.
And that is the voice of our guest, Scott Wolter.
Sorry.
No, I need to, we need to have some
Right.
clarification here because I've seen it written both ways.
Right. And yeah, but I think really the proper term would be Earl Henry Sinclair.
Okay, who was Henry?
Well, Henry was a Scottish earl, and he was basically born into a very prominent family. A long list of earls that in the Sinclair clan. I mean, they weren't the only earls in Scotland, but they were one of the more powerful families, and I think some would say probably the most powerful family during that time. And you know, there's been a lot of speculation about the Sinclairs and being the hereditary Grand Masters of the Knights Templar Order. And I think there's some truth to that, but I think there's been some misunderstanding about what exactly what Knights Templar Order are you talking about? And I don't want to get too far down into that well, because there are many Templar orders that exist to this, you know, especially today, and there were Templar orders that existed, multiple orders that existed back then too.
Was he part of the Sinclair, the Rosslyn Chapel and
Correct.
that side?
Yes. His Earl Henry's grandson, William Sinclair, his direct descendant, built Rosslyn Chapel.
Right.
So yes, that is of that same line. And so in this first book that's published, and if you read my blog post and you read the book, you find out that there are actually 20 books in this collection that was found by this friend of ours and close colleague and associate, Diana Muir. She found about 14 years ago, I guess it is now, 15 years ago. She found this collection of journals inside of a saddlebag, inside of a chest that had been rescued from a fire in a church that burned down in 1880, and this thing ended up in the Historical Society, and and people apparently didn't either look at them, or when they did, they saw that the writing they couldn't read. Most of them were in Latin, some of them were in Old English, and they just and there was this wrapped up leather. She called it a burrito, which was actually a map that was made by Antonio Zeno, who was the navigator and one of two Zenos that went over to the Western lands with Earl Henry Sinclair, that you will read about in the next installment of this story that's coming out in 2019. So what we're talking about is 20 journals that were part of a father-to-son tradition that started with Earl Henry Sinclair, who passed on the journals to his son, who passed them on to his son, and his son, and his son. After 5 generations of Sinclairs, these journals then transferred to a different family. The daughter of the 4th generation of Sinclairs and the brother of the 5th generation of Sinclairs gave the journals to her husband because she didn't trust her brothers that they would honor the agreement that was made at the beginning.
Now, Scott, before we jump into the content of the journals, let's address something very directly here.
Yeah.
Are they real?
I think so. Yeah, I think they are. But what we're still trying to figure out, and I don't know how much time we want to spend on what's happened in the last couple of years, because it's it's just as murky as the Cremona document, maybe more in some ways. But really, the simple story is the person that found them and translated them, I think she's done an excellent job, as far as I can tell, with her translations, because we have spent 2.5 years vetting the events, the places, the names of these journals, and we have not found a red flag yet.
Okay.
We have some yellow flags. okay? We have questions about certain parts of the journals, but no red flags. So, and enough good stuff that has been found that I'm convinced that you couldn't you couldn't put together a panel of experts living today that could have created this story.
Okay,
it's not possible.
Now let's, and just for clarification here, I need the audience to understand, and for me too as well. Where I know I know the answer to this, but it is one of the crazier parts of this whole thing.
Right.
Where are the journals today? Go ahead, just drop the bomb. Just go ahead.
According to the person that found them, during a moment of a personal crisis, she said she threw them away.
Right. How many pages survived?
3.
3. So now, are those 3 pages, again, this is for clarification because we're talking about some very important things here, and I don't want to mislead, and I certainly want to understand too. Are those 3 pages from the original documents?
I don't think so. Well, let me clarify. We have one page that's written in Latin that is from book 1. The one that's published. In fact, pictures of that page are in this book, the front and back. I don't believe that that's from the 14th century. I think it's been recopied. But if it's true to the original, I don't care. The Cremona document isn't a 12th century document. It's a copy, for sure, of an original document, probably a copy of a copy of a copy. Now, this is not unusual. This is what the Cistercians and the Templars did. They made multiple copies of very important documents. That marriage document that was recovered in the 12th century isn't the only one. There are multiple copies of that. I know the Vatican has at least one.
Right.
So that's 2, right? Because the Templars got the other one. So I think that it's likely that the page, and I have all 3 of these pages, and we're going to be testing them very, very soon. It has to be done the right way. So I think that page was probably a copy of the original or a copy of the original. Again, doesn't matter as long as it's true to the original. We also have a page of the Old English, which dates to the 17th century. That may be a copy too, but we'll find out. The last piece is written in English in the 18th century, and that could be an original page. I can tell you that I'm 100% convinced when I saw the original map that was original. That was not a copy. I think that was the original.
What are the... so that one was from 1770, right?
The map?
The 18th century.
No, the map
page.
would be 14th century.
No, the 18th.
It's lambskin. It's clearly lambskin.
No, I don't think you heard me. That's okay.
Okay.
The 18th century page is from the year 1770.
Right.
Okay.
No. That page that I'm talking about is from 1731.
1731. What are the years on the other 2 pages?
1350. No,
1353.
No, it's it's when he was 12 years old. 1357.
Okay.
Yes, November 22nd, 1357 is one of the entries, and I can tell you what that is later. It's so cool. Oh, Jesus. And then the Old English page was dated, I can't remember what the date was, but it was 1663.
Okay, and what? Let's go to the 1357 page. Let's start there. We'll go in chronological order. What?
Great.
What? Oh, okay. Actually, let's do this. When Diana, translated all of this, she had all of the documents there that she has translated. Right. Today, there are only 3 pages of the original set.
Correct.
Okay. Overall, going back to the beginning of this set, what is the flavor of the document? What certainly you use the words explosive, right? Well, certainly it is that.
Yeah.
What is the flavor here? What are these documents saying?
Well, in essence, what it's telling us is, in no uncertain terms, how this country was founded, the real story of what happened. I guess on one hand, when and I can't talk about everything, I can only talk about it vaguely. But what is revealed in these journals is, and you said it in the previous set, and that was that a lot of what I've been talking about for a long time is coming to fruition. It's being proven to be true, and these Earl Henry journals, in some ways, there are some nights I sit there and I'm laying in bed and I go, somebody made this to kowtow to me. They prove so much of what we've written about in the Hooked X and Akhenaten and the Kensington Rune Stone, compelling new evidence, like you can't even imagine. It's like, oh my God, it's like this is the answer to all the questions I've ever had. It's almost like it's too good to be true. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, like I said before, because of the level of detail of historical events and unknown information that turned out to be true, that nobody knew about before, it can't be fake. So it's just incredible. And one of the things that in this first book happens that people can read right now is you learn about the Kensington Party. You learn who they were, where they came from, when they left, where they went, and what their mission was. You even learn, Jimmy, the name of the guy who most likely, and everyone that I've talked to in detail about this, that have read those entries and given me their opinion, all agree. We probably know the name of the carver of the Kensington Rune Stone. That's how much detail is in these journals.
Now, when he references, and I'm talking about Henry, when he references, Western lands, we're talking about the same Sinclair clan that built the Rosslyn Chapel.
Yep.
That they not only came to the United States, they reference it as Western lands. I'm doing air quotes here for everybody.
That's the term they use in the journal.
That's the term that they use. They didn't do it once, right? that William Sinclair II himself, he did 7 trips. Now,
well, let's put it this way. Earl Henry came over 3 times.
3.
He writes that his father had been there 6 times before he brought Earl Henry there the first time. So 7 times.
7 times. Now, I don't know how long it took then to travel from the United Kingdom to here, the Americas.
On average, it took 1 month.
1 month, right? So if they're taking 7 and 1 month back, they're doing the 7. We're talking about years of travel that are now that they are documenting here, going back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. No, they were doing this all the time. It was routine.
Right.
Remember, the Sutterly came over in 1178, 79, and went back in 1180. This is 200 years later. So think about all the trips that happened between DeSutterly and Earl Henry's father, who came over 7 times. And he also mentions his grandfather that came over here too.
Right.
So that's going back to, 1300.
Now, right? So, and to be clear here, I need your help on this. The Templar journals from Henry Sinclair say this, but the Cremona document is saying the exact same thing, and now we have a cross-reference.
And that's a really good point that you bring up. And what's amazing about these 2 documents is they represent two different time periods in history, but we're talking about the same order, right? The Templars. They came to us in modern times through two different sources, completely independent of each other at two different times.
Right.
There is no connection whatsoever between either one of these sets of documents. And to me, but yet they independently corroborate each other to a level that is just incredible. Again, just to put together either one of these documents would take, we sat down here one night and we thought about this. And we came to the conclusion that even if you got Bill Mann, Alan Butler, Janet Wolter, and Scott Wolter, and I can't think of anybody else who's been writing about the Templars coming to America and goddess worship like we have.
Mm-hmm.
We could not have done these. We couldn't have even come close to writing these documents, even if we had an army of the greatest Masonic scholar minds in the world. That team could not do this. There's nobody else living today that's written about this stuff to the level that we have, and we couldn't do it. So if we didn't do it, who did?
Why let me ask you this, because after Friday the 13th, right? We're talking about a serious depletion and a disbandment of the Knights Templar. Why the Knights Templar coming here, and they would have to regroup and get the order back together and travel here? Why the Knights Templar? Well,
look, the reality of what happened is after the order was put down, right, they didn't just disappear. Some of the Templars went to Portugal, and they were already in Portugal. But some escaped down there, and they became the Order of Christ. And that order continued until 1835. They were an official medieval monastic order, military monastic order, for another 500 years after the put-down. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Some went up into the Baltic region, and some went to Scotland. The Templars that went to Scotland fought with Robert the Bruce. The Earls of Orkney, including Henry Sinclair, clearly, as indicated in this first journal, protected the Templar Knights, the fugitive Templar Knights, after they served Sir Robert the King, and they owed him. They owed them a debt of gratitude. But you got to remember something: after the order is put down, they're no longer the Templars as academics would describe them today. Right? For one thing, there's no obligation. There's no allegiance to the Roman Catholic Church. They've been outlawed. Right? So for one thing, they're not celibate anymore. They're married and they're having kids. Well, they were doing that before, but anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
But the point is that they became something different. They still were this fighting force that was respected, but they were still human beings that were living their lives trying to do the work, and that they had a common interest with the Earls and the Scots, who were. And we've had this debate because he's talking about this order of knights that's hiding out in these caves. They're clearly supporting them. They're bringing them supplies, medicine, food, whatever they needed to survive. And what you're going to learn in the future is ultimately they brought them over here, and they stayed. And in one of the entries that you'll read in a future thing, they basically said, "Look, the church hates us. the king of France and England. I mean, we got bounties on our head, and plagues are ravaging all across. Why the hell do we want to stay here?" And remember, this is the key thing that becomes abundantly clear in the Cremona document and in the journals. And I've made this argument for years, and nobody gets it. But it's the fundamental core of this whole story. Their ideology was not Catholic. They were not Catholic. They pretended to be Catholic. They aligned with the Catholic Church. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. They venerated the goddess just like the matriarchal cultures of Native Americans. That's why they got along with them. It's clear in the journals. They shared the same rituals, the same beliefs. And when Earl Henry brought those treasures over, the natives guarded them. They protected them. The treasure didn't mean anything to them. And this is what's going to come out in this story. And it's important, and the world needs to hear it. Think about it, Jimmy. The natives protected that treasure for centuries. And look how we repaid them. Their story needs to be told. And somebody, someday, has got to get up and formally apologize and thank them. Because when this whole story plays out, everybody is going to be demanding that. And there's other people that are going to have to be thanked too, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to reveal the story, but I'm telling you, that was the key. And when the Templars came over here, they intermarried, they had children, and within a generation, they were native. And you know what? When you truly understand how natives live and treat people, it's not a bad gig if you can get it.
Now,
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I've got 3 minutes.
At that time.
I've got 3 minutes before the break, and then we'll pick up when we come back. But in one of the entries, which was that they wanted to establish a settlement in the spring of 1358.
Yep.
The Kensington Rune stone is dated when? Here, help me out, Scott. Say it out loud.
1362.
Coincidence?
Let me tell you something, pal. None of this is coincidence. I say that all the time in my lectures. Is this a coincidence? Is this another coincidence?
Right.
None of this is a coincidence. None of it at all.
And it's there's a 4-year span there. But in 1358, do you have any idea where they established? Again, I'm doing air quotes. This is from the document. This is from the journal. Do you have any idea where that settlement was?
Well, there is a clue. Well, we have two clues. One is in the entry. I don't even know if it's in this book. If it isn't, it's in the next book, and you'll read it at some point. But a native visits with Earl Henry, who travels a lot, and he interacts with the Kensington party once a year. And one of the things they do is they trade items with the natives, and the natives get copper and silver from them.
Right.
There's only one place in the world where you can get native copper and silver that is diagnostic to a specific area, and that's the UP of Michigan. That is this area here where I live. That's where and the other piece of evidence that we have that tells us where that settlement was is the Kensington Rune stone, which is also here. So it was here somewhere in Minnesota, or probably, you know where I think it is? I think it's Cahokia, or not Cahokia, but Cathio. There is a large Ojibwa settlement that was at the southern end of, oh my God, what's the big lake? Drawing a blank.
What?
It's where all the Mille Lacs Lake. It's in central Minnesota. If you go to a map, you'll see this great big round lake in central Minnesota. It's about an hour and a half drive to Kensington, Minnesota, and about an hour and a half drive to Duluth, which is where Lake Superior is. So I think that settlement might have been in that area. But let me tell you something. There's no way that you're going to get anywhere near Kensington, Minnesota, or Mille Lacs Lake, or Duluth at that time from the East Coast unless the natives let you. So what does that mean? Did they fight their way to Kensington? No. They traveled with the natives.
That's right.
Clearly that's what happened, and in these documents, I've been making that argument for 15 years, and that's exactly what comes out in the journals.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Scott Wolter. Amazing conversation, Scott. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this for the audience, and I'll respond to Twitter. I'm going to do it. We're going to talk a little Oak Island. Not directly, Scott. We can't go direct, but we're going to do a drive-by. Our guest tonight, Scott Wolter. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black, doing a little overtime with our guest tonight, Scott Wolter, but you knew this was coming. That is not a problem. Nothing but good conversations with Scott. And Scott, eventually all roads are going to lead to, Oak Island and the question of that. I'm going to ask you this. In all of your research, all of your everything that we have discussed, is there any evidence pointing to a connection between the Knights Templar and Oak Island? I don't have a dog in this race, okay? I don't. But is there any evidence?
The answer is no.
I didn't hear you, Scott.
Negative, not no. And let me just preface this by saying I've been to Oak Island multiple times, and I've given that story all the energy I'm going to give it. I think, and I want to be clear, I think the brothers, they seem like good guys, and that they're, they really believe that there's something there. But there isn't. Well, I can tell you this, there isn't any Templar treasure, because we know exactly where the treasures went. In great detail. In like amazing detail, to the point where I can say with 100% confidence that there's nothing on Oak Island. But there may, having said that, is it possible that there's a treasure that was buried there at some time by somebody else? Yeah, that could happen. It's probably recovered a long time ago, but I think I just don't think there's anything there. No, that's my personal opinion, and I have a lot of reasons for saying that. But no Templar treasure there.
There isn't much left to the island, right? The island, it's small, right? It's not big. It's small. You can walk across it, and
it's very small.
It's very small, and it's been dug on and drilled to nothingness. That's my opinion, but there's not a whole lot left there, is there?
Not in my opinion. You're talking about a story that's been around for 250 years.
That's right.
And I got to be honest with you. I just find it laughable. It seems like every few episodes they walk along with a metal detector and whoa, they find some amazing artifact. You mean to tell me that these guys, first time anybody's walked those beaches with a metal detector? I have a hard time believing that. That's just me, but I could be wrong.
Well, you could probably go to any beach on this planet with a metal detector and find something. Whether it's a coin, a bullet, a sword, you're going to find that stuff everywhere. That's what you do when you get a metal detector. You go to the beach, right? So
yeah, and
you're going to find something.
The other thing is that there have been people living on those islands in Mahone Bay and around the southern coast of Nova Scotia since the early 1600s. And before that, there were Native Americans. You're going to find stuff, and people live and die and get buried on those islands. So finding human remains is not a big deal. So I don't know. You know what I tell people? I say, look, I'm not here to beat on these guys. I'm just not going to lie to anybody. I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm going to tell them what I really think, based on the information that I have, and I have a lot of information, and I just don't think there's anything there. But if you like the show and you enjoy the show, watch the show and enjoy it as entertainment. Knock yourself out. It's not a crime. It's
No, hey, those two brothers are having a lot of fun right now.
They're making a lot of dough too.
Well, that could be, but I'm a little jealous. To be able to have the resources to go there in the first place.
Oh yeah. Listen, you got to give them credit. They put together a very successful show, one of the most successful shows. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's obviously doing extremely well, and they're a big part of it. They are the face of that show, and it's doing extremely well, and they deserve a lot of credit. Good for them.
I was watching Twitter right before the show tonight, and it's pretty impressive to me that this audience is obviously watching that show, because immediately ask Scott about the crossbow bolt that they just found. Well, that was on tonight's episode, right? So it's like in real time.
Last night's episode.
Oh, is it last night? See, I don't watch the show, so
I was playing football, and I honestly, if you ask me right now how many episodes I've watched start to finish, probably 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the 6. This is season 6. I've watched 3 or 4 episodes. I personally, I don't care for it that much. I mean, I don't know how else to say. I don't find it interesting. But it's not my cup of tea. I mean, I watch shows. I'm sure people can't stand. They don't like the shows I watch, so that's fine. It's just not my cup of tea.
The interesting part for me when it comes to Oak Island is because when I first got the internet, and let's go back to 1994, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I jump on the net, and there are no websites. There isn't anything out there. Well, things were rare back then. And I found the only website about Oak Island. It was like 2 pages, right? Very simple web. I'm like, Oak Island? What is this? So I start to read about it, and then, over the next couple of years, I'm researching Oak Island. That seems like nobody knew about this obscure place, up there in Canada, and the story is fascinating. I think that back then, certainly the focus was on pirate treasure. I don't think there was any mention of the Knights Templar back then. But it was a fascinating story. Going back to the original version of the 2 kids, and going and getting their family, jumping back on the boat, bringing them back over, and they start digging, and the original version of the story. And I've been fascinated with it ever since. And I would like to see it get resolved one way or the other. And I don't.
Well, I think it is resolved. I think it's been resolved for a long time.
I just don't know I have looked at different versions of the island over the years, the aerial shots. And at one point, there was just nothing there. I mean, they literally just, with great damage.
The whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I got to say though, Jimmy, and I've met, Danny Blankenship and the guys, that were there when I went there with Niv and Sinclair. I don't know, it was several years, 10 years ago. Anyway. So I get the whole vibe there and the whole deal, and I think what it is I think human beings have a treasure gene, and it's like as long as there's even 1/10 of 1% of a chance that something could be found, we hang in there. We can't let it go. It's like the mystery of, what could it be? Could this be the Templar treasure? Or could this be pirate treasure? What is the treasure? I mean, it's like we just can't let it go. It's just weird, and I don't know. I just think it's a genetic thing that's in us. And even when your thinking brain tells you it's over, it's not going to happen, we just can't let go.
Well,
I don't know. I think that's what it is.
I remember going back a couple of years ago or longer, you and I did a show about deciphering of the map, and your location for any possibility of anything Templar going on up there wasn't anywhere near the island, but you did have a location.
Yeah. More than one. Hey, look, here's the other thing. I'll just tell you this. I really don't want to get into too many details of what's coming. But I will tell you this. The Templars would never put all their eggs in one basket. okay? Anybody who thinks they're going to find the Templar treasure, it doesn't work that way. They spread things around. They're not dumb. They're just not. Nobody would do that. Here's the other thing. Let me also just say this, Jim. Okay, so how deep have they dug down on Oak Island now? They're like, I've heard numbers like over 200 feet.
200, yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. If you have a treasure and you go out in the woods and you bury it a foot under the ground, but you don't know where it is, or I don't know where it is, okay? Does it matter if you bury it 1 foot, 10 feet, or 1,000 feet?
Nope.
Because if I don't know where it is, I'm not going to find it.
Right.
On the other hand, if I do know where it is, and it's worth potentially billions of dollars, let's say, do you think if I'm the church or I'm a government or I'm somebody who's got the means that I care if it's 1 foot, 10 feet, or 100 feet, or 200 feet? If I know where it is, I'm going to get it. So the point is, why would you bury something that deep? No one's going to do that on a glacial and moraine island on the ocean, okay? This whole talk about flood tunnels, it's called the water table. If you dig down below the level of the ocean, water's going to flow in. There's no evidence that there was flood tunnels. That's a bunch of BS. There's this 9-level stuff. I saw no evidence of that. This 90-foot stone, I don't think it ever existed. I think that's a complete myth. And until somebody, because that's what I was looking for. I wanted to see that. I wanted to look at the inscribed symbols on it. I wanted to see if it had weathering, do the thing that I do. I think most of this stuff that everybody just accepts as fact is a myth. I don't think any of it exists. Geologically, it makes no sense. The technology the Templars had back at that time to go down 10 feet under the water, maybe? Why? If you're buried in the ground, and they didn't have metal detectors back then, how was somebody going to... You had no reason to bury it that deep. It just... None of it makes any sense.
The other part, and this is the obvious thing to say, and my mind always went here. You go back in your mind's eye to 250 years ago, and the resources that were on some ship that pulled up to the island. Shovels is one thing, but the ability to dig 250 feet, 200 feet into the ground, I just don't see it by anybody.
Underwater?
Right, by anybody, anywhere. Ain't
happening, dude.
No.
Didn't happen. Forget about it. It didn't happen. I mean, it didn't happen 250 years ago, and it sure as hell didn't happen 600 years ago when the Templars were here. Forget it.
Right.
It's a non-starter. Didn't happen.
Right. I mean, that is... If Egypt, right? A 300-foot tunnel underneath the Great Pyramid, okay, through rock. Well, let's think about that for a second. We're talking about a potential work crew above ground of 10 or 15,000 people, right? But
the other thing, what is the rock, right?
Right.
It's a limestone. It's about the easiest rock you can carve in. That's what, tunnel systems are easy in limestone. Relatively easy. I'm sure it would take some work, but that's a whole different thing, right? That's a completely different thing. Where it's not underwater.
No.
It's just...
And you have infrastructure, you have a support system, you have food, you have things, and a large work crew. We're talking about a boat, right, that just came across the ocean with a small crew. Probably not a lot of food. They only have what they have with them, and the ability to turn around and bore a tunnel 250. No, I have a problem with that. Now,
look, it doesn't pass the smell test. It doesn't pass any logical analysis. It doesn't. It didn't happen. I'm sorry, it just didn't. And I know that a lot of people are going to be disappointed. But what do you want from me? You don't ask the question if you don't want to get the answer.
I want it to be true.
I love it. It'd be great. I love it. I'd love to see him get their dream, and I'd love to see what they find. I just know it's not Templar treasure. There could be something there. There could be something else, maybe some. But you know what? Isn't the story these guys dug and they found it? Didn't they find it already? I mean, I thought that was the story.
Well, this is what I would do. If I had that kind of money, right? And I'm not kidding. I would pull up and I would just move the island. I would take it. I would dredge it. I'm serious, too. I would take it. I would surround it with a barrier, some kind of it's some kind of, I would surround it with plastic. I would take the island, dredge it, move it 10 feet over. I would.
What you're saying makes perfect sense, but you bring up an interesting point that we haven't touched on and nobody ever talks about. Okay, even the brothers and the production company in real life making that show, there are only certain things that they can do. Okay, the Canadian government is not going to let them do what you just would love to do. And in fact, a lot of the things that they say they're doing on that show, I don't believe is really happening, because I don't think the regulations, environmental regulations, and the government would allow them to do some of the things that they say that they're doing. I don't see it happening. So, you can't just move an island 10 feet over unless you buy it, it's yours. Even if you buy it and it's yours, the government still has a say over what happens. You've got, wildlife considerations, you've got pollution considerations, there's all kinds of stuff that you just can't do, even if it's your own property. You can't do it. You can't dump out oil and gasoline, in the ground, right? We can't do that. It's against the law. So there's all kinds of, and then you got antiquity laws. You've got, if they find an artifact that's really that old, the government will come in, they'll shut that thing down, and they will turn it over to the archaeologists, the proper authorities, and it's over. So it's just
okay.
A TV show.
Yeah,
it's a TV show.
I want it to be real, Scott. I do. I've got like 25 years invested into Oak Island.
I know.
I really do. I mean, like I said, it goes back that far for me. When I brought up Oak Island to my friends back in 94, 95, nobody had ever heard of it. And I'm like, no, you got to check this out, and I would show them.
Jim, when I was a little kid, I believed in Santa Claus.
Oh, Scott. Okay. All right.
That was mean. I'm sorry.
Man.
I'm sorry. Why would I try to crush your 25-year dream? You know what?
Wait
that
a
was
minute.
Inappropriate. I'm sorry.
Okay, Scott, but what are you saying? Santa Claus isn't real? Are you doing that to me too?
I don't want to go there. I'm sorry. That was bad. That was a bad analogy. No.
All right. When's the new book coming out? When can we expect it?
Well, I think the way it's scheduled right now, probably I would love to say right around May. 1st of May, something like that. And I think you're going to really like this book. I put a lot into this. We've got some amazing reveals that are going to come out. I talk at length about the Cremona document. I do not talk at all about the journals in this book because it's almost 350 pages as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to save that for the next one. And, we're not going to, Diana's not going to hurry and release these journals because there is so much to unpack in them. Just this first book alone covers, 42 years of his life, I think. And there's a lot of entries in there. There are a lot of things that happen. I mean, the Kensington party being revealed, and there's more to the Kensington party in the next couple. But this is such a big, important story. It's going to take a little time for it to come out. And all I can tell you is you will not be disappointed. And we are going to be doing some follow-up on some of the things that are not published yet. And if we find something, it'll be worldwide news. They can't deny it. Look, the skeptics, the debunkers, the deniers that all say this is BS, one of the complaints they have is we need to see something come out of the ground. Well, I'm hopeful that'll happen. Let's just leave it at that. And if it does, we're going to have a party, Jimmy.
I can't wait for it. No, I can't wait for it. And with Diana's book 2 is, I know that there's 20 journals, there's 20 books here. Is there going to be a second book from her in 2019?
Yes, and maybe more. I'm not sure. Kind of depends on how things go. But what I'm thinking she might do is the next. Earl Henry wrote 3 books. This is the first one. The next 2 are about his trips over here, and they are incredible. And I think maybe those 2 books would be the next logical book. And there's just so much in there that is so good that will dovetail with things we've already talked about that we're not talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's just an amazing story. That's all I can say. The next book will be really good. This book is great, but the next one, it's adventure. It's amazing. And again, I'm always going to preface it by saying I'm 99% convinced the story's true. I'll be 100% there when we pull something out of the ground, and we have lots of targets, and we're going to start on them very soon.
Thank you so much, Scott. Give my best to Jan. Get some rest, and we will talk very soon. Thank you so much.
Jimmy, thank you for having me on. It's so much fun. I feel like I'm sitting in a room right next to you. It's you do a great job, and I appreciate the opportunity. By the way, if you get a chance, I sent you an email. If people are interested in the book, there's a link there. And, of course, if anybody's interested in my stuff, go to www.hookdex.com. And thank you again. Appreciate it.
We've got everything up right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Thank you so much, Scott.
All right. We'll chat soon, pal.
Oh, we've got more to talk about, and I'll announce that next week. Okay. Thank you so much, Scott.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Jimmy.
Have a good night.
All right. You too.
Scott Wolter. Yes, ScottWolterAnswers.blogspot.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And, of course, hookedx.com. Scott Wolter, what a great, this is a show I know everybody's going to be listening to a couple of times, but a lot of information tonight. And over at Scott Wolter Answers, there's some great images too as well there. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. Tomorrow night is Fader night. It's going to be open lines all night long, like we do every Thursday night. Teresa Yannaris is going to be here with a Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you to everybody that tweeted in tonight, and just great stuff. Great email, too, as well. Thank you for all of that. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Scott Wolter. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Scott at Scott Wolter on Twitter. Until tomorrow night, Fader night, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.